All right, good evening, councillors. I will declare tonight's meeting open at 5:30. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, Cowra Council is recording General Committee and Council meetings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on Tuesday morning. By speaking at these meetings, you agree to being recorded. Please ensure that when you speak at this meeting, you ensure that you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Now, item 1.3, we've received applications for apologies for leave of absence from Councillor Ruth Fagan and Mayor Councillor Paul Smith for personal reasons. I'd also like to note that Director Hackett is on leave and Mr. Glenn Oakley is replacing her, and Director Dirk Weimer also on leave with Ian Thomas as acting director. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Downing, and a seconder, Councillor Speechley. And thank you, Councillor Downing. All right, all in favour? All right, I'll consider that carried. 1.4, disclosures of interest. Councillors and staff, please indicate in relation to any interests you might declare. A, what report item you are declaring an interest in. B, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary. C, what is the nature of the interest. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I would like to declare an interest in item 4.2. It's a non-pecuniary interest. A family member was involved in the preparation of the submission, and I will leave the room. The item that's dealt with earlier in the meeting that also looks at this issue, I don't have the same conflict for, so I will stay in the room for the donation request.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Anybody else? No, thank you. Right, item 1.5, public presentations. We have nothing tonight. 1.6, our public forum. And there are no members of the public who have registered with the General Manager's Office to speak on the agenda. Okay, item 2, confirmation of minutes. Before I ask for a mover, I would note that there has been one minor amendment, that the declaration of interest was incorrectly noted by Councillor Speechley as declaring an interest as a board member of tourism, and it should read that it is a board member of the Japanese Gardens, which has been corrected in the minutes here. So with that amendment, can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Watt. Seconder, Councillor Cave. Councillor Watt, would you like to comment? No. All those in favour? Against? Consider it carried. Thank you. Up to item 3, Director Corporate Services, 3.1 Investments and Financial Report. Can I please have a mover? Councillor Watt? Seconder? Councillor Downing, thank you. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Strange not to move and second this with you. The average interest rates continue to be well above market rates. It's fantastic to repeat that every single month when we hear this. Rate collection seems to be on par with previous years, which is excellent. I would note we have had a slight reduction in the ratings of our loans, but on question to the Director of Corporate Services, we've been assured that this is not of significant concern, particularly due to the fact that these are short-term investments rather than long-term investments. So I'm very happy to adopt this report tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Downing?
I don't have too much more to add than Councillor Watt. Only to say that, again, I've noticed that, as you mentioned last month, the loans have come down and there used to be a lot more. So that might mean that we have some more money to do more things.
Beautiful. Thank you, Councillor Downing. Would anyone else like to speak? No? Councillor Watt, right of reply? Not needed. All right, I'll ask, is the recommendation to be accepted? All those in favour? Against? Consider that carried. Item 3.2, donation Yabalinga Buri Daycare Centre Development Contribution Fees. Could I have somebody to move that, please? Councillor Watt? We have a seconder? Councillor Horton. Thank you. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. It's really exciting to see this development coming up, DA coming up later in the night, as well as a request to support Yabalinga in this. As was confirmed by our staff today, Yabalinga and the Cowra Local Aboriginal Lands Council received government funding to expand their preschool, which will service up to an additional 15 children from what they currently service. This donation fits quite well both into our donations policy as well as our broader strategic objectives that we've planned in our operational plan and community strategic plan, both to expand our childcare availability but also in supporting our First Nations community in access to education and employment, which will surely increase with this project that we're looking to approve later on. It's a bit strange to have a donation before we approve the DA, but I guess it will all work out in the wash. But I think this is something we often do for our not-for-profit organisations in providing exemptions. Not providing exemptions, but giving donations to cover the costs of development. And as was confirmed, this wasn't included in the application, in the grant received by the state government. So I'm very happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Horton?
Thank you. Look, not really much to add. I did... This is probably just a general comment, really, and we've touched on things like this in other discussions in the past. I'd always keen to see the difference that we might make. So whether or not there's a way for it to be more clearly articulated, like if we receive this donation, if we offer this donation, if we provide this support, and I'm not talking about just this one, it's probably more broadly. I think it's always good to be able to reflect back on what difference that makes. How does that help? Because it helps us, I think, as a council, reflect back to the community what we're doing and why we're doing it. It helps us with all of those conversations around engagement and what support we provide, and also sometimes, unfortunately, what support we don't provide. Very happy to support this one. I think this is a no-brainer, frankly. And I note also in the papers we talk about revisiting the amount left in the donations budget, which I think, given we're down to $1,000 and we're only in October, we're probably going to need to do. So that makes sense. But yeah, happy to support it. I just think, if there's a way we can, through these processes where we make donations, kind of get some more clarity and some feedback on the difference that it might make, I think that'd be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Anyone else like to comment? Councillor Downing?
Just like to say that I'm happy to support this, and if anyone in the room didn't think that childcare wasn't a growing business in our town, they'd be mistaken from the things we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Yes, I'd just like to address where it's coming from, which is the donations budget. So we had a problem giving money from a business development fund last time. I obviously voted for that. And now we are giving it from a donations budget, which is a very much different amount, but there was a suggested amount of $4,000 for the last one. And then we're going to have to up the budget. So I'm a bit confused as to the room thinking that it's okay to come out of the donations budgets and for us to up that, but for us not to take it out of a budget that is in a 10-year plan that's not allocated to anything. So that would just be my query about the whole thing, but more than happy to support it and hope that employment grows and that childcare spaces keep growing as well.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Anyone else? Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you. I'd thought about moving an amendment to this because I'm quite happy with the donation, but I'm not happy with the wording to offset development contribution costs. We shouldn't be setting a precedent where we can offset some and not offset others. and it gets back to what was said there before, that we should just give a donation to Yalbalinga Bori Daycare Centre to help with the establishment of the new, well, it's not a new preschool building, but of a extension of a new preschool building. So that's where I'd leave it, but I'm not going to vote against it. I'm not going to fall on my sword over it, but it just doesn't sound good when we're matching up the development contributions to the donation that we're giving, and that's what we're getting when other people can't get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. And look, I will just speak briefly to it as well. And I actually have taken everything that you've said and agree wholeheartedly. What we're talking about in our strategic plan is providing education, cultural identity, social connection opportunities, and we know that Yalbalinga does that above and beyond. So, it's a great thing to be supporting as a grant opportunity in itself, irrespective of what from, where from, who from. I think it can only strengthen the connections that we have there. All right, I'll move back to Councillor Watt. Would you like to write a reply?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I don't think a lot more is to be said. I think just that, as Councillor Horton noted, we are getting to the bottom of our section 356, but it shouldn't be seen that this particular application is the reason we've got there. We've had a number of requests over the last couple of months. So I think we should make the two decisions separately about increasing it and making a decision here. I know Councillor Wright's point about terminology, and I think I can't recall off the top of my head because you can probably all hear I'm still quite congested and not 100%, but whether we've used that similar wording before or not when we've done items like this. But I do understand what you're saying. I think it's the outcome being they've asked. They probably used that terminology in their request, and so we probably replicated that here, but something for note going forward. But yes, I think it's a really great project and very exciting to be able to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. All right, all those in favour of the recommendation? And against? I'll consider it carried. Thank you. We will move on to item 4, Director Environment Services. We have 4.1, Development Application Number 10.2025.70.1, Lot 10, Section 9B, DP 1287, 3 Railway Street, Cowra, demolition of an existing dwelling and outbuildings, construction of 3 attached dwellings and 4-lot community title subdivision, lodged by MB Kilsey. The property owner is MB Kilsey. Could I have somebody move that, please?
I'll move it for discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cave? Thank you. Councillor Wright?
Thank you. I've only briefly looked at this and apologise. He's certainly using all the block for the buildings, and he's asking permission to building a lot to be on a smaller lot, but it looks like the only common area of a lot of 4.2 square metres for a garden. Well, I don't think all the residents would fit on that lot. I just can't see if they wanted to stand there and talk to each other, there wouldn't be enough room. I just can't understand why that is there. Is that to, but no doubt he's further advanced in planning than we are. I tried reading it all and there's some stuff come out today, but there's no street windows on 2 of them or something. The building has got windows in it, they just don't look over the street. Is that right?
Could I put that through to Mr. Oakley, please?
Yes, 2 of the dwellings to the outside dwellings have highlight windows. They just provide light to the rooms, really. And there's no habitable room behind those windows, so there's no street overlooking. The only dwelling that overlooks the street is the middle dwelling, which has a substantial window in it, so two of them don't overlook the street. That's a variation that is applied for.
So normally you need to have a window overlooking the street, do you?
DCP requires a major window to a habitable room overlooking the street for each dwelling. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that if you have major windows overlooking the street, it actually improves the presentation of it. It makes the dwelling look like it's actually presenting to the street. And secondly, it provides some sort of a surveillance factor, really. In this case, we just have the one dwelling that does that. So it's a question of, do you feel that that's a significant issue, whether it justifies the refusal of the application? We didn't think so at Environmental Services. I still think that it has an acceptable street presentation. I don't think the crime aspect is really significant.
But there is windows in the building to let light in.
Yes. And skylights. And skylights.
Yeah, so at this present, I just moved this so it'll be discussed. Other people might have better ideas on what might be going on there. It's good to see that he's decided that he might have to spend $230,000 per unit to build them instead of $89,000, as in other areas of town where he wanted to build something. So we might be able to get something a bit better there. I just let the rest of the council make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Cave?
Deputy Mayor, I did look at it like this. It looks like they've tried to please all the things that's going on, and he's trying to cover all of it. So I'm happy with what's going on, but you know he can always come back and see what else he can do.
Thank you, Councillor Cave. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Watt? Councillor Speechley?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Well, Deputy Mayor, sorry, apologies. Look, I'm just a little bit concerned about a couple of things, actually. One of them is the access to the garden space that each occupant would actually have. It appears that it's quite detached from, just based on what we have here, quite detached from the living areas and from the accommodation areas of the home. So, you know, walking down a long pathway then to a small space, to me, I wonder about the livability of that, you know, just in relation to that. The other thing is as well, with the windows on the property and it being single dwelling, and quite close to the boundaries and fencing, I do question how much light they would actually get through those windows. That's another observation that I had. Let me just see what another one was. And they're quite large homes, I think, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms with a study and a family room, or 2 family rooms? A family room. Okay. Okay, so that confused me because there's a drawing here. Which one is it? Drawing number, or page number in our record of 71. And it's showing section 01. I don't know what elevation it is. I can't quite tell, but it looks like there's a family room at the front, a dining, a kitchen, a family at the back. I may be looking at the building from the wrong angle because I'm not sure what aspect it is.
That looks like street elevation. I'm not sure where that section's taken from, but I'd say it's fairly close to the front.
So you think that maybe...
The family rooms are at the front.
But it's also has family room at the back.
Yes. So is that one unit that we're looking at, or are we looking at a cross section of the 3? That's what I don't understand in this drawing.
It doesn't match that.
Can I add something? I think it's from the front, isn't it the front?
Yeah, it's from the front.
The
But it
roof line
doesn't
doesn't match.
Yeah. No, the roof line doesn't match.
It's not the front.
And the doors don't match. The windows don't match. It doesn't.
We might allow Mr. Oakley to comment on what picture is what.
I'd have to have a look at the floor plan. And that's not included in
Where's
the
that? Do they go into the family?
So I'd have to get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oakley, taking that on notice. And Councillor Speechley, was that all?
Yes, please.
Yep, thank you. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Similarly, I, at the current moment, would not be comfortable supporting this GA. There's a number of reasons. The primary one for me is the request for a variation to reduce the size of each allotment based on our standard being a minimum of 300 metres squared and a request to reduce these to 270. There's often times why that would fit. I don't think it ever fits when you're also putting in a 3-bedroom house. This property on this plan is very congested. They're very kind of lacking in natural light, lacking in space. The front doors, which do provide natural light, all go into a hallway. It doesn't actually go into a habitable main area. And I don't think that this is getting the best use out of the space. To be very clear, I'm not saying there isn't situations where we might accept that reduced area, but I think it's really about assessing what kind of house you're putting in and what the lot looks like. Similarly, share Councillor Speechley's concerns about that accessibility to the back, about how you're maintaining your backyard with very little capacity to, say, get from the garage to the backyard. The placement of bins has been a conversation that we've had as well, which is very tight and makes that side quite lacking in amenity. I haven't been able to figure out on this map if there's a door that goes to where you would keep the bins, or if you've kind of got to walk out your front door and around the side to get to your bins. But predominantly, from a planning perspective, we've been asked to accept variations on a couple of things, and I think that they are all problematic in this sense, really strongly the smaller allotments. I also think Councillor Wright's comments about the request for a community title with a very small lot of 2.41 metres squared being the community area doesn't quite seem to fit with what the community title's about. There isn't actually a lot of common area other than a front yard, which is significantly taken up by driveways, by quite, concrete driveways. And I had presumed the back area was a common property, but it's not. So I really don't understand why it's proposed that this would come through in this way. I think it's because normally we accept smaller allotments with community title, but it doesn't seem to really make sense here. There's no internal driveways, there's no real common space other than a little bit of grass out the front and concrete. And I note that there are a number of skylights provided to provide some natural space, which is natural light, which is great, but dwelling 2 in particular is really closed in, and to me is not amenable living. There's that little tiny walkway that goes through the back, and I don't think this meets our community need in this situation.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Would anyone else like to speak? No? Look, I will just briefly add a word as well, and I accept everything that's been said. I have had quite a few concerns over this. It's not any one variation in particular. I think for me, it's everything that's adding up. And again, I acknowledge what Councillor Watt said about the purpose of a community title. I think I don't know that it's actually serving that purpose. So to what end are we actually looking to decrease the size of the lots? I look at what's happened in other shires where people turn around and say, oh, why did council allow this? Look at the tiny little this, look at the tiny little that. There's no space for this, no space for that. And I think we've really reached a point in our shire where we can make the decision. We can stop this sort of thing happening, or we can say, all right, we're going to accept this as being the norm. But at this stage, I simply don't think that we are that much in demand of housing that we have to be squeezing on 3-bedroom houses onto blocks that if it was in a dual lock, it would give it actually a lot more space. So that's what I have to say on it. So, Councillor Wright, would you like right of reply?
Yeah, thank you. I'm grateful for the councillors that put their views forward, and I think there's a lot of questions still to be answered about this this development, and it, the development is like some subdivisions in rural land. It's often just lines on a map. They got a block of land and they can fit everything into it, but when they actually do the subdivision or do the development, it doesn't provide what they want. It is in an area where these smaller houses do have a need, but I think they might be pushing the boundary a little bit too far. We've had experience of this before. So I'll just leave it to the council to make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. All right. Now, this is a DO, folks, so we're going to need a show of hands, please. I'll ask for all those in favour. Thank you. And those against? Thank you. I'll consider that defeated. Now we'll move on to item 4.2, development application number 10.2025.69.1, lot 243, DP 752948, Lee Street, Cowra, additions to centre-based childcare facility lodged by BCT Consulting Services Proprietary Limited. The property owner is Cowra Local Aboriginal Land Council. Could I ask for a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Speechley. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Downing. Councillor Speechley?
Thank you. Look, this is an application to add an additional building which will provide some childcare facilities and additional space for the Yarwalinga. Also includes a shade sail area for playground cover. It is quite a small development. It's very minimal difference or impact on the actual lot that they're on. Driveways are existing, use of car space is already happening. So I'm more than happy to support this application.
Thank you, Councillor Speechley. Councillor Downing?
Now I can turn it on.
Yes.
It's on all the time. Yes, I'm more than happy to support this DA as well. I noticed that one of the variations is that they don't mark the car park, which is already working well. Not that they actually explain why they don't want to do that, which we'd normally see, but I'm happy to go with that, seeing they're using it now that way. And then it does say there's a note about the development application fees. So is that what we've just done, or is there extra? Sorry, can I ask someone?
You're
Anyone?
right, absolutely. Councillor, no, not a councillor, General Manager.
It's a lofty, Madam Deputy Mayor. No,
Did I read it right? Did I read it right?
The development application fees stand as are in this.
Yes.
In this application here.
Yeah.
The donation is a separate issue.
Yes, I'm happy with that. So yeah, more than happy to support it. And congratulations for expanding another business.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Would anyone else like to comment? Councillor Horton?
Yeah, thank you. Just quickly. So with and look, it's just part of my contrarian nature, I suppose, but it does make me wonder why we don't want to mark the car parking. But as I understand it, the car parking that we're talking about not being marked is not public. It's not the public car parking. It's out the back for staff and what have you. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. No, that's fine. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Horton, would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Wright?
Yeah, I support this. Yarwalinga has been in operation for well over 40 years, to my knowledge, and provided a valuable service to their community over there and also to the wider community. They've been able to provide some things that other childcare centres couldn't provide or haven't been able to provide, is that many of the students got a lunch every day. And under the Yarwalinga, they used to have they employed tutors to go over and and teach the kids that are going, not the kids, the children that are attending school with their homework and that. So they've been an ongoing operation over there, and really haven't been a problem. They haven't created problems. They haven't done things that that's been brought to our attention that shouldn't have been happening. And I wish them all the success in this future direction of where they want to go. And that's about it.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Unless any other councillors would like to speak, I'll just briefly add that, look, this is an exciting chapter for the Cowra Local Aboriginal Land Council. I think it can only be a good thing, look at expanding it. And as we've mentioned before, we definitely have a need for increasing in childcare centres. This will be used within the current existing hours, so I can't see an issue with that at all. And I did notice Councillor Horton said there's sufficient parking for non-designated parking areas, and I think that's just a bit higgledy-piggledy, and that's all right if it fits. Quite happy to go along with that. So I think it can only be a good thing. Councillor Speechley, would you like a right of reply?
Not necessary, thank you.
Thank you. I remind everybody this is a DA, so a show of hands, please. All those in favour? Thank you. Against? Consider that carried. Thank you.
Get Councillor Watt in if we could, please.
Item 5, we have no late reports. Item 6, do we have any notices of motion? No? All right. And we have item 7, no confidential matters. I will advise the meeting to have closed at 6:02. Thank you, everybody.